Now we got to talking about the fear of sexually transmitted diseases. It was 1989, and it was my fear. I had taken a test as soon as Eddie and I had split up and hadn't seen any action since, save for Eddie himself a couple of times. Barry had been with a bevy of babes. He'd never been tested, and if you factored in all the guys they'd been with, well, that was a risk I was totally unwilling to take. I guess I've always felt what you don't know won't hurt you, Barry said. That attitude's killed about a dozen of my friends. I don't even know why I bothered. Barry kept his distance all day, continuing to be punishing. We had no physical contact. His mood certainly didn't warrant affection, but I couldn't help but wonder if he was even considering making a move. We'd come a hair's distance from kissing that day in his apartment when Joseph showed up. It remained on my mind, and in my warm, wet toga. If it was still on Barry's, he sure was doing a good job of hiding it. Want to visit the old neighborhood next Saturday? Totally, I answered immediately, thinking that perhaps that would shake him out of this funk. On Sunday evening, Lenny arrived, all spiffed up. He was wearing a nice pair of slacks, a freshly pressed button-down shirt, and shiny, well-polished shoes. He took me to a very expensive romantic bistro in the village. I was feeling uneasy, like I had no right to be there. There seemed to be something so dishonest about seeing two men. Even though Lenny and Barry certainly both knew about each other, and hell, they knew each other, period. Never having played the field, I didn't know the rules, but I suspected I was breaking a lot more than one. Rather than avoid the subject, Lenny dove right in. I still can't believe you and Barry went to school together. It's amazing, especially since you were the link. Everything's happening so quickly, it's so confusing. Must be the pill I dropped in your drink. Nothing like a man who can make a girl laugh no matter what. On the ride uptown, knowing the date was drawing to a close and having no idea how to finish it, we were both awkward and clearly uncomfortable. Lenny did what he did best and had me laughing. The funniest person I'd ever known, he found the humor in everything and the perfect expression for it. I can't remember what he found to satirize that evening. Knowing Len, it could have been anything from the garbage on the street to the president. 1989. Same thing. Laughter was a perfect release. And we finally relaxed in a way no wine or pot could manage. Moving closer to Lenny, he took my hand. There's something so sexy about sitting close to a man while he's driving and has to concentrate on the road, and then doing everything possible to subtly distract him. I miss bench seats. Lenny double parked when we arrived in front of my building, making awkward small talk. I wish I could have read the bubble over his head. We said goodnight and then simultaneously moved closer. To say that Lenny's kiss surprised me would be the understatement of the decade. It was perfect, sensuous, warm, and sexy. Very sexy. As attracted as I'd always been to him, it was in a sort of innocent, you're my friend way. There was nothing innocent about this. It was magnetic, head-spinning. Carlos, my doorman, was craning his neck from behind his podium to get a better view. Lenny disengaging long enough to pull into a parking spot on the corner. All the years of knowing had led to trusting, which unleashed a deeply felt connection that was manifesting in some very hot necking. I hate that word. When I was 11, I caught my divorced parents together, and afterwards I asked my mother what they were doing. We were just necking, she said. Taking that literally, I couldn't figure out why they would want to rub necks. The windows must have steamed up, as we didn't see, were completely unaware of the car that was sitting alongside us, until they started honking to get Lenny's attention. Leave it to a New Yorker looking for a parking spot to decimate a first kiss. Embarrassed, I straightened up. I should go. The couple was impatiently staring. Lenny shrugged in resignation. Can I call you when I get home? Please do. I leaned over and kissed him one last time, gently on the lips. What a revelation. I said more to myself than to him. Without waiting for a reaction, I was off. Before heading into my building, still reeling from this unexpected turn of events, I gave a last look. Lenny was stopped at the light, his head out of the window facing back towards me. I blew him a kiss. When the light turned green, he was honked from behind to move on. As he drove out of sight, I could still feel the warmth of him. I touched my lips, still amazed at how good it felt. What in the world had taken us so long? We'd been friends for 4 years. My mind was reeling. Josephine the astrologer's words dancing in my brain. You know him, you just don't know you know him. Could Lenny possibly be the one? But what about Barry, the boy next door? Surely there was a message there. I knew him too. And after 20-something years, he'd resurfaced, having lived almost an exact parallel life. He was successful as hell, which Josephine had also promised. It was meant to be, wasn't it? Lenny was all I could think about. After my initial disaster first kiss with Vincent, I figured it had to mean something, that it was so not right with him from the get-go. That's a sign, isn't it? Not like Vincent was a choice anyway. He didn't want me. But I was pretty sure that Lenny did. Hey, wait a minute. Vinny, Lenny, they kind of sound alike. Barry, too soon to know. And wait a minute. That kind of sounds alike, too. Upstairs, I washed, undressed, and had just gotten under the covers when the phone rang. Lenny's voice was soft and sensual. Why hadn't I noticed this side of him before? From day one, I'd adored him, but I don't think I'd ever thought of him as this incredibly sexy thing. I'd entertained the thought of marrying him more than once, but I don't think I ever got past the liking. I had no idea how much I'd be wanted. I'm going to be away for a few weeks, working on a cruise. I'm not crazy about going, but it's a personal favor for Captain Stubing. We dock in Manhattan mid-voyage to pick up some passengers. Care to join me for lunch aboard the Love Boat next Saturday? I've never been on a cruise ship. I'd love to. Now officially dating, we said goodnight, and I drifted off smiling. So infrequently surprised, the night had been totally unexpected and thrilling. I was in uncharted waters and loving it. I woke the next morning as happy as I've ever been. My new gig at the Stonehouse had lots of promise. I had a potential new man with even more so, and plans that night with the boy next door. Lenny. Barry. What a fucking twat.